Welcome to the Everglow Show. I'm Eric McClanahan. Joining me is the producer of this show and the host of Church Jams Now and In Defense of Kesha,
Ooh.
Kylan Savage.
Hey,
What's up,
hey.
Kylan?
Not much. Still can't get rid of me. That's my catchphrase on the show.
All right. Also joining me is the author of Jesus and Joe Strummer and a book that's coming soon called Short Stories for People with Short Attention Spans, AJ Simmons. What's up, AJ?
Howdy.
I
Um,
like these new intros.
Yeah,
Gotta
dig it.
say.
Yeah, I figured that wouldn't, you all wouldn't feel like you had to plug your own things at the end or anything like we've been doing.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's great.
I don't know. Last time was fun getting to plug Church Jams Now and
It
in
was
Defense of
fun.
Kesha. That
That's
was
true.
different.
Switching it up. I like it.
yep, we'll see how this goes.
Mhm.
If you're just joining us for this series, we are going over albums that are contenders for around the top 25-ish spots on my top 100 favorite albums of all time list that I'm currently working on. We are going through each of those albums track by track. Today we are going to do Shelterheart by Benjamin Daniel. This is the newest album that we'll be covering on this series.
Oh, okay.
Came out in 2021, produced by Asher Peterson, who is the son of Andrew Peterson.
I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Who
that makes a lot of things make sense
Yes,
now.
yeah,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Andrew Peterson is one of Benjamin Daniel's big influences.
I'm
So
shocked to discover this.
What? Were you talking about the same Benjamin Daniel?
so what's your guys' history with Benjamin Daniel? Kylan?
Um, So not much. I never listened to a full album. I definitely am aware of him through CCM Twitter, and I know you and Josh Balog speak very highly of him, and I've interacted with him a little bit. Um, and I've listened to a couple songs. I definitely listened to what's the one? The came out. He's had a couple that came out this year, but The Rain Falls
Yep.
Sideways.
Hmm.
Listen to that. And the other big single, Lights Out. I
Mhm.
listened to those, and I've listened to a couple songs here and there, but I never dug into a full album.
Okay.
So yeah,
Cool.
this was a first for me.
All right. AJ, what's your history with Benjamin Daniel?
His last two albums. So his Rainfall Sideways is I think is gonna be one of the most listened to albums for me this year. It keeps creeping up in like my top five every month, so it's gonna be up there towards the end. And then his album that he released last year, I'd always had on my list to like go back and listen to more of the older stuff, and I knew you liked this album, but I hadn't had a chance to. So no, it's good to
Perfect.
force me to do something I wanted to do.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you all for joining. My history
Yeah.
with Benjamin Daniel, we were both in the same like My Epic fan group on Facebook, and that was I think how I first
Okay.
came upon him. But I think I knew somehow that he was friends with some of the Jesus Freak Hideout guys. Um, and so at some point I listened to his first album, Shaping Season Volume One, and I liked it. Um, in fact, I was doing the my little record label thing around that time, Fluorescent Records, and I was trying to figure out if I wanted to message him and ask if he wanted me to
Mm.
re-release
Oh.
that on my record label. I never actually told him that, but now he knows when he watches this. Um, but I was kind of like in a place of just not sure what I was going to do with the record label if it was something I really wanted to continue doing. Um, Became friends with him on Twitter, I think around this time. And he in 2021 released Shaping Heart or Shelter Heart, Shaping Heart. I was getting Shaping Season and Shelter Heart mixed up. And
That's the next album now.
Yeah.
Ben, when you watch this, we got your next album title sorted right there.
Yeah. Listened to this and thought it was just a huge step up, blew me away, really. And we'll get into, I guess, some of the reasons why I felt that way as we progress. So I guess we'll talk about rating scales.
Sweet.
Kylan, you're doing the 0 through 5 or 1 through 5?
1 through 5.
1 through 5. All right.
Maybe they're opposite this time. We won't know. No, it's normal.
Okay, and AJ, you're doing the 0 through 3 scale.
Yep. Yep.
All right, and I will be doing two different scales. As always, I've got the 0 through 5 star scale and the 0.0 to 10.0 scale that allows me to kind of differentiate between the stars that I give. Um, so my rating predictions.
Oh yeah.
Um, I'm predicting a 2.5 for AJ and a 4 for Kylan.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Even though this is potentially the longest album that I've covered on any of my various music podcasts.
Really, the longest one
I
on
think
any
so.
podcast.
I think
Wow.
so. Hour and 6 minutes?
Maybe I should drop that down to
Is this
No,
longer than
you
the
gotta
like
leave it. You
Tate
already said
album?
it.
Like,
uh
is this longer than Tate and Kevin Max's solo albums?
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I
Well, maybe
Uh,
not. Hold
yeah.
on.
I
Let's
mean,
see.
you throw out those ratings, Eric. Like you didn't take us serious when we said our plan was to make Benjamin cry. Like we were gonna return
Oh,
to him what he did to us. We were gonna be
I
so
think I
mean.
I predicted those before you told me that. I think
Ah,
so.
okay.
Yeah,
hmm.
maybe that's
Oh,
why.
okay. Tate is 1 minute longer.
Ah,
All right, all right.
what is how long is this album, Kylan?
1 hour and 6 minutes.
Okay, I don't think this is even the longest album on my list. It might not even be top 5 on
man.
longest albums on my
Uh,
list. The Falling Up album had to be longer than this, right? Or close to it.
Probably. I don't know, man.
All right. Anyways,
Kylan just says stuff.
I don't fully
Reality
understand
doesn't
time.
matter.
No, this is where you guys learn that I don't understand time as a concept. How long have we been
okay.
doing this? Like 3 hours now?
Okay, so let's get into it. Track 1, Green Again. The song features Sean Hypes, who I don't really know anything about except that he is one of Benjamin's collaborators on some things. AJ, what did you think of this song?
Um, I had to double check because I miswrote the name of the song. Beautiful lyrics, like it's coffee shop folk music, right? But like darker and heavier. Like this is a
Mm,
very sad coffee shop playing this. But no, it's pretty. It introduces his voice. And I think he's got a really beautiful voice that he uses well. Um, a good solid intro, I think, to like the rest of the album, right? Like kind of eases you into it.
mhm.
And so I think it's a good start. I have it as a 2.5 out of 3 on here.
Okay.
Mm.
Kylan?
Basically all my notes were almost exactly the same as AJ's, just less articulate. I said he has a really pretty voice. Um, and yeah, this is a great intro. I feel like I love that this song like continually builds. I like continuously building songs. Like because the drums don't even come in till what, like uh yeah, like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it just like keeps ramping up and there's like this anticipation that continues to build throughout the song. Yeah, I thought it was lovely. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Awesome. Um, I thought the lyric "There's a season to be held and there's a season to behold" is just an incredible lyric to start the album off with. I never thought of any like kind of wordplay on
Yeah.
beheld and behold. Um,
Yeah, a reoccurring theme through this is going to be like we're going to talk about some lyrics
yeah,
because the lyrics are really good.
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. I've got a lot about lyrics in mind
That's
too.
why I specifically text. I was like, I need to see lyrics for this to make sure I
Yeah.
have them right.
I'm glad I remembered that it was on Bandcamp, so thankfully that worked out.
Yeah.
But when we have him like on to talk to him, we need to introduce him as a suffocating dork, please. Like we'll explain that later, but like
The suffocating dork.
um, yes. So also the bridge, like Colin was saying, where it kind of builds, it gets drums come in later, and it even has like a background scream of Grace brings
Mm.
life to everything. There's at the end of the bridge that gave it a little extra emo cred, I think.
Yeah.
post emo,
His
right? That's his record
his
label. It's
his
post
record
emo.
label is post emo, so like I think that part pretty much
Yeah.
fits right there.
There's another if y'all would indulge me with a little
Yeah.
music nerdery. Another thing that I think is like really underutilized in a lot of music that he does incredibly skillfully on this song to help build that anticipation is when all the big hits happen, right? Okay, so it starts with like these like pads and the guitar comes in and then there's the moment where like a little bit of drum, I think it's like just like the kick drum and the bass come in. I think it's right around here. Oh yeah. Well, I can't find the moment. I'll drop it in. I'll fix it in
Okay.
post.
All right.
So he does it there, and then he does it when the full band comes in. They don't come in on the one, like a lot of times on those big hits. It's like one, two, three, four, boom, like big hits. He comes in on the three. I think it's either the three or the four. It's like it's in an unexpected place, and so it's something that is not typical in a lot of music, and so it's like you're anticipating that build happening a little bit earlier than it is. So then when it hits, it's like extra satisfying, but also like you're still kind of anticipating more. It's like a really, really, really cool musical trick, or technique rather, that I think is incredibly effective here.
Interesting. Um, for me, it's a 5 star 9.6. Um, so a barely a 5 star, but still 5 star.
Nice.
Um, let's go to track two. There are others here. Colin, what do you think of this one?
I love this intro. He uses pads incredibly well, like synth pads. Makes it feel really worshipy, but like not in a bad
Yes.
way.
Yes, I
Mm,
have that note too.
Like because the instrumentation a lot of times is like really simple,
Hmm.
but it feels really full. I
Hmm.
think because of the this use of pads. And I love the interplay of the piano and the guitar with
Yeah, it's
like the
cool.
four on the floor drums that are like the way they're mixed are like really kind of far back in the mix, but they're still there, like driving the song forward. Um, I want to know what chick flick he was talking about.
we'll have to ask him
I
that
want to know.
when we interview him.
I know. This is another 4 out of 5 for me.
Okay.
Off to
AJ.
a strong start.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a really strong start album. I think it's got really beautiful lyrics, right? That like reflect a positive kind of healthy masculinity. I always like seeing that represented
Yeah.
in art. I really love that piano intro and like you were talking about kind of the interplay, like they're having a conversation between the instruments, which I think is a neat trick. And then it sounds like he's like harmonizing with himself, I think
hmm
maybe, or is there like an effect on his vocals? He uses that, I think, throughout the album at
No,
times.
we'll talk about that specifically on another
Okay.
song. I have that
Okay.
note, but yeah, he is harmonizing. It's really
Yeah.
good.
And then I like the change that's like at the like 2 minute mark where like the music kind of slightly changes a bit that
Mhm.
keeps it moving forward. I even like the instrumental that comes in at like 2:45 roughly for about 30
hmm
seconds. Um, no, I think this is just another really great, pretty song. It's another 2.5 out of 3 for me.
So this is my least favorite song on the album.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um, it's grown on me. It's still a good song. I still give it a 4 stars, 8.0. Um, I think it's just a personal thing that I don't love the way that the Waffle House closes its doors part. Like I don't it doesn't feel quite natural to me, almost a little bit forced, but I don't maybe that's just me.
See, so I recently learned that Waffle House has like their own storm tracking
The
team,
Waffle
and
House
like,
Index. Yeah, I was gonna bring
yeah,
that up too.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Well,
so like
like
that
FEMA
actually kind of
uses the
weirdly
yeah.
hit, yeah, for me because I was like, yeah, I saw like how scary like the hurricanes have been recently because people are like the Waffle Houses
Houses
are
are
closed.
closing.
Like,
Yeah.
do you know
Uh-huh.
how bad that this has to be? And so that was actually like in my head is like this actually like that's a really clever like insightful metaphor of like it's so bad the Waffle House is
The Waffle
closing. All
House.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting. See,
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know
So
about
it's
any
a
of
whole
this.
thing. Yeah. So I think FEMA maybe even uses the
Yes.
Waffle House Index because Waffle House, their business practice is essentially like stay open by like until you absolutely can't. And so you can tell you can track like if there's a natural disaster, sort of the severity of it based on the amount of Waffle Houses that close.
Hmm.
Okay. See, this is why we do these episodes. Because so
Maybe it'll bring it up to 4.5 for you.
There you go.
maybe I'm not quite
We'll
ready to go
see.
there yet, but
No, yeah,
it
that's
that
actually a
that
clever
does
line.
that does change the context a little
Right.
bit for me. Okay. I'll leave it at a 4 for now, but it has
Sweet.
potential to move up on my
And
on
see,
my
like, I don't know, Kylan and I went to Waffle House together, so I have like a stronger
Oh yeah,
affinity for Waffle
That's
House now.
true.
So
that's
even
true.
like absent being like, oh, the storm thing, I was like, oh, Waffle House.
Oh,
Like,
Waffle House. Fond
I
memories.
I'm an IHOP guy, so maybe that's
Oh,
the
you're an I.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
all
that.
right,
Okay,
Rockefeller
well,
with your pinky
all
out eating
right.
at
Well,
your
I gotta go, guys. Enjoy the rest of the episode. What, you think you're better than me? You like IHOP?
That's not what I meant at all.
I'm teasing.
Um. So yeah. Okay.
Sweet,
But things do get considering this was my least favorite song, things obviously get much better for me.
for sure.
So speaking of, let's move to track 3, Stormbound, Only Way Out. The song features Alan O'Dell, who is another somewhat frequent collaborator with Benjamin. Uh, AJ, what do you think of this song? I caught you with food in
so
your mouth, didn't I?
you're fine. I'm just eating tahini covered gummy bears.
Oh, okay.
Um, but no, beautiful and sad lyrics, right? Like this is gonna be like every single song pretty much has that. Musically, this is a bit different, right? Than the
Yep.
rest or the first two tracks. And I would actually argue it feels a little like hip hoppy a bit.
Yeah.
Um at times and even maybe a little bit postal service-esque at times too.
Mm.
Um and so this is another 2.5 out of 3 for me.
Cool.
Nice. This reminded me a ton of From Indian Lakes. Um, like his voice especially because they're a band too that's like kind of that intersection of that like Copeland Manchester Orchestra but like real kind of ethereal
Mhm.
almost spacey and it reminded me of like my favorite From Indian Lakes tracks. I love the banjo. There's a lot of banjo on this album, which is cool.
Hmm.
One thing I really enjoyed about this song was that he uses that term Shelterheart. So there is a
Hmm.
title track, Shelterheart, but then
Mhm.
he uses that phrase again, which kind of like ties everything together. And I like albums that do that. They sort of like create their own language, right? Because
Yep.
Shelterheart, that I don't know if I'm missing something. I don't know if that's like a common thing. I've never heard those words together as one word, but I get what
Me
it,
neither.
I understand
Yeah.
what it means, right? And then the fact that he uses it within a song and then titles another song that and then titles the album that it's like it makes everything feel really cohesive.
It's
uh
very love drug as
So,
well,
yeah,
in my opinion. Like
for
create
sure.
take these words and combine them together in a way that you're like, I know exactly what you mean,
Yeah, but I've never heard that.
but I've never heard that before. It's like very German as well, right?
Yeah,
Germans combine words together to make new words, and you're like, oh, that works.
for sure.
So yeah, I think it's clever.
Yeah, this is
um,
a oh sorry real quick, it's
no
a
go.
4.5 out of 5.
Oh, nice. I so From Indian Lakes is one of those bands that I feel like I should love, and I
Hmm.
revisit them every few years because I feel like I should, but and they never quite have. But I'm due for a revisit, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that soon. Um, yeah, I think talking about kind of the hip hop thing, AJ. What reminds me of like that and R&B is like that quick little drum beat that thing that happens in the in
Yep.
the in the verses. I think is pretty cool. Um, the atmosphere in the background of the song, like Kylan mentioned with the pads and stuff, I think it's used really well on this song, and I wouldn't hate it if like folky music did that more. I think that's part of the reason that I love this album so much, is
Yeah.
because it has
It
that
reminds me
atmospheric backdrop.
a lot of. Have you guys ever listened to Freelance Whales?
I know the name. I don't think I've ever listened to
They are a band that does a really good job of mixing folk acoustic instruments with like electronic elements.
them.
Yeah, you should check them out if you haven't.
Will do. Um, the the bridge I love so much. He sounds so emotional singing the like I don't want you to stay there.
Hmm.
And that part, love the chorus. The lyric, you've worn that cross on your neck. Would you let that cross wear you? I think is another just cool concept that had not like thought of.
Yeah,
It's one of those things you think would have been like
done to death.
yeah, done
Yeah,
to death exactly. Um, so I like that line a lot. There's a lot of just nuances that I like in the song. At 3:15 when the music continues in the pattern of the O's that he was singing, but nobody sings them at that
yeah,
point. Um, Shout sounding vocals during the last chorus, backing vocals. It's just a gorgeous song that has a lot of things that I love about it.
for sure.
Yeah. It is a 5 star 9.8 for me.
Oh wow,
So in my top 250 songs of all time.
nice.
Let's go to track 4, You Lift My Head. Kylan, what do you think of this one?
This guitar reminds me so much of John Foreman's like solo stuff
Yes.
in a way that I really like, where it's like it it's simple in a way that feels like home. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like
yeah,
just feels
It's
comfortable.
cozy. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
cozy
Yeah,
song.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then here, so this is AJ, what I was talking about before. There's a few moments on this record where they use double tracked vocals, um, and it's super effective. It's like one of my favorite uh, recording techniques where you do the same vocal line just twice, right? Like it's not even harmonies, it's just the exact same melody, but just through nature of uh, how people sing, unless you're a machine, there's going to be like slight differences, and then it just makes it feel just a little more sort of full. I love it. This and then my only lyric note on the album, because you guys know I'm not a lyrics guy, but I noticed a lot of really beautiful lyrics. But this one in particular, um, find righteous brothers. There's no shame in covers. The world can be cold, but we don't have to freeze. It's just like, oh dang, man, that just like hit me hard. It was really, really, really good.
yeah.
So I give this a 4 out of 5.
Okay, AJ.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful like indie folk tune, right? And I actually have a note on lyrics too. The screaming on the cliffside, barely believing on the cliffside, inches from speeding off the cliffside, just can't stop grieving life on this side. You aren't afraid to hear my soul cry. I'm not afraid to let you see it, right? Like, hmm, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that in my notes too. That's really
That's
good.
yeah. And so yeah, it's it's pretty, it's got good lyrics. It's easy to listen to. It's got some cool vocal tricks on it. I like it a lot. Yeah, so 2.5 out of 3.
Yeah, I had the lyric you mentioned, then I also have the lyric there. I'm weak, you caught me. All that I am's, like M
Hmm.
is the blood that you bought me. I really like that lyric a lot. Um, I just like the When You Come Around that started at 309. Um yeah, just like y'all said, really lovely song. It's five
Yeah,
star 9.6 for me.
nice.
Let's go to track 5 In Arms. AJ, what do you think of this one?
It's good. It's again kind of like calming in a different way, right? Like it
Mm,
sounds different with like the music kind of being more spacey, atmospheric,
Hmm.
ethereal. Like you use that quite a bit, but like it's just kind of there in the background, almost like worship music, as
Right.
Kylan mentioned earlier, and it kind of builds like that, right? Um, and then it adds like little things throughout, like that, like it's like this ticking sound that starts in like the 1 minute mark or whatever
Hmm.
that like slightly changes it, and so it doesn't stay boring. Or it's not boring, but it doesn't get boring by staying kind of just
Right.
doing. If it just did this for
Like
four minutes,
everything builds in a really nice,
yeah, exactly.
pleasing way.
I'm really curious to know if he is involved in like writing worship music because of so much of sounds like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another like yeah, I think 2.25 for me.
Kyla?
I wrote once again more from Indian Lakes to me. Uh, and yeah, I love this is like a really moody album. And it makes sense to me. After having done however many of these we've done, Eric, it makes sense why you love this album. Uh, it's like it it does a really good job of like feeling epic without like feeling loud. That makes sense. You know, like a lot of times people would associate epic with like arena rock or something. But this is like really low key, but it just like the sound is like really massive, but it's real kind of flowy,
Mm,
really nice. Yeah, I love this song too. I gave it another 4 out of 5.
nice. Off to a good start for you, Kylan. I'm feeling good about my prediction right now for both of you. So, um,
Just wait.
yeah. uh, for me, it's another 5 star, 9.7. I love it. My only complaint is that it's only 2 minutes long. Um, beautiful melodies, lyrics. I mean, it feels like the structurally, like it feels like it's structured as more than an interlude.
Right.
Like, um, so I'm curious about why it's only 2 minutes long, but I will gladly take 2 minutes of the song, um, as opposed to nothing. So,
That's true.
yeah, 5 star, 9.7 for me.
Nice.
Um, track 6, Pour Me Out. I don't remember who I started with last time. I think it was AJ. So, Kylan, what do you think of this one?
This is my favorite song on the record.
Sweet.
I think it was incredibly important, at least for a listener like me, to bring up the energy at this point in the record.
Absolutely, yes. I
Have
have that
something
same note.
a little more up tempo. It feels real like folk band. Um, the drum production's so good. Like it's so simple, but the drums just like feel real. They drive the song really well. Um, yeah, I think it's really catchy. It's just like this totally feels like it would be the like road trip montage song in like an indie movie. Uh,
I have a note like about this whole album sounding like the soundtrack to like some quirky
yeah,
indie movie.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm,
So this one, of course, gets a 5 out of 5 from me.
nice. AJ?
So one of the notes I have to a point that Kylan made is a fast intro. What? Right? Like it transitions out of kind of calm, picks up the pace, and it's something that was needed, right, at this point. What's funny though is like it's still sad and it's beautiful and it's a song about like depression and loneliness and how it helps you see those things in other people. And I actually, maybe this is a weird observation. This feels sort of like a Jimmy Eat World track to me. Like I could hear Jim Adkins singing
I could
over
see
this.
that.
It's kind of
Yeah.
dancey, and it's a compliment, right?
Hmm.
Like they're one of my favorite bands. So a bit dancey, but introspective and thoughtful. And this is also to link back up with my comment earlier. This the line "suffocating dark" is in here, and my brain kept hearing "suffocating dork." And like I mentioned that to Benjamin, and he's like, "I don't hear it." I was like, "No, no, no, it's not you. It's just my
Yeah,
ADHD
yeah.
brain. It rewrites lyrics
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes." Sometimes it actually I think maybe helps the song, and other times it takes this really pretty song and makes me kind of chuckle.
Yep.
Um,
That's funny.
but this is a 3 out of 3 for me. I don't know if it is my favorite. There's one we're gonna talk about later. I'll have to call it live if I decide. But this is a 3 out of 3.
Nice.
So we we were trying to figure out what to call songs that all three of us gave our highest rating to, and we
Oh
just
yeah.
this it, the guy suggested we call it an Amy Grant.
Yeah.
Uh, if all three of us give it the highest score possible. Of course, it's one of the few songs on this album that I gave a 4.5.
Oh, I thought we were getting it.
Oh
Uh,
man. Uh
It
yeah,
feels
well,
I mean
maybe
personal
we
now.
can call it a Sandy Patty if it's just me and AJ.
there we go. It's a 9.5, 4.5, so the highest possible 4.5.
Okay.
Um I love the song. I love the lyrics. I have several lyrics here that I enjoy. There's solace in the scars,
Hmm.
caught between wanting to help and struggling to breathe. There's no greater love than to dance in someone else's rain just to show how you love them. Um,
So pretty.
lots of very nice lyrics. Um, like you guys said, needed at this point in the album.
Hmm.
But yeah, for now, I'm gonna stick with the 4.5 as much as it saddens me.
All right.
Um,
Sandy Patty.
we gotta say Patty. All right. Then let's go to track 7. There's a darkness. AJ, what did you think of this one?
I love a good self-aware tune about having the capacity to not be our best.
Hmm.
And how we sometimes have to fight against our own worst instincts. And then like I love this the intro to this is very pretty. It's
Yes,
almost
yeah.
very like, and I have this note like later on too, a bit of like Death Cab around transatlanticism a little bit,
Uh-huh.
right? So I really love this piano. And then like yeah, his vocals come in, but not at the immediately at the beginning. And then it's just like him and the piano going. And then again, it builds. Like we talk about this,
Yeah.
throughout all of these. So yeah, this is a really great tune. I have it as a 2.75 out of 3.
Oh wow. Okay. Kyla?
Um, so I mean this literally in the best way possible. This should have been a song on Grey's Anatomy. Like
Okay, yeah,
season
yeah.
like 3 or 4 where they're like really hitting the like indie stuff. Like even like even the just the instrumental feels like
Yeah, oh
it
yeah,
could be the
100%,
score
yeah.
for like that or like a house or something
I
like
yeah,
from that
yes.
time. But then lyrically when it comes in, it's like it's a really intense song. It's like really emotional. Um, yeah, and I love the sentiment of it. I put this as another 4 out of 5.
Cool. Yeah, beautiful piano, love the lyrics. Not a huge fan of the wave after wave part repeating several times. Um,
Ah, but see, that's where Meredith Grey runs in the rain to go kiss Doc McDreamy. At least that's what I saw in my head. So,
okay. All right, makes sense.
But it's sort of
But
that and the pianos that really made me think about transatlanticism, right?
yeah, for sure.
yeah. Um, so yeah, one of my few nitpicks of this album was just the wave after waves part.
Ooh, you're just eviscerating Benjamin.
it's uh it's a 4 star 8.8 for me.
I feel like he's just
Nice.
being cantankerous at this point. Like these two are being super positive. Neither of them's really being nitpicky. Somebody's got to play the
Someone's
role
got
this
to do
week.
it.
It's got to
Yeah.
be me.
The whole point of this project is for me to be nitpicky with these albums that I
Yeah, for
adore
sure.
so much so I can put them in, the proper
So,
place up
so,
my list.
so, okay, this is a little bit of a tangent, but Eric, let me ask you, then, is it easier or harder for you? to sort of then look at these albums and sort of reevaluate them when we're both positive or when we're both a little bit more on the negative side? Does it like when we're a little bit
Um,
more negative, does it like solidify to you? Like, no, you're like, because maybe you have to think about like justifying it a little bit more. I'm just curious.
yeah, I think with like the Evans Blue album after we did the episode, you didn't love it. Rain enjoyed it. In the end, you all gave it the same score. But um, I I pretty much knew like after that episode, hearing your all's takes that it's gonna be one of the bottom of these albums, and I already had it there. Anyways, I think um
Those first two tracks are terrible.
um
That's a little mean, but it's true.
yeah, I don't know if like if a positive or more negative one impacts me too
Okay.
much either
So these
way.
discussions mean nothing, is what you're
No.
saying.
No, they do.
We're not changing the dial at all.
No, I have changed several track ratings
Okay. All right.
It's whose
because
All
line is it
right.
anyway?
you
The
guys.
points are made up and don't matter. It's
That's
fine.
true.
But I am also probably going to revisit all of these episodes as I'm trying to find all these out in my
Right.
list. So I will hear your opinions a second time.
All right. All right.
So trust me, it is doing a lot of good. I promise.
I'm just teasing.
Um.
That's funny. Okay.
Uh. So track 8, God in the Flesh. Kylan, what do you think of this one?
Okay, this one is the most overtly kind of worshipy. Which
Yep.
as you guys know is personal preference. It's just not super my thing. Um, so I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
And that's purely personal preference. I think the song
Okay.
is great. The production's still really solid. Just it didn't hit me in a personal way the way a lot of other songs on this record did. But I understand why it's there, right? Like I wouldn't uh like I don't fault the song for that, you know?
Right. Yeah. Okay. AJ.
Yeah, so I think the song's really pretty and I liked what it's about. And I normally don't necessarily like songs too much like this to kind of Kylan's point because they come off as like cheesy and insincere and like overly manufactured and overly produced. But that's not the case here. It's, relatively simple. And doesn't come off as trying real hard to make people feel something. Right? Like it
Hmm.
just is like an authentic expression. I think similar to some of the stuff I said about like My Epic when we talked
Hmm.
about them.
Mhm.
Um, but I have this as a 2.5 out of 3.
Okay. It is a 5-star 9.8 for me in
Wow.
my top 250 songs playlist. I just think I just think it's really beautiful in every way, but I don't think I have as strong of a like of aversion to modern worship music
Right.
as
Yeah, yeah.
you guys do. I don't love that it dominates the Christian music landscape now, but I don't I think dislike it to the degree that a lot of people understandably do.
Well,
Um,
I went to school to be a worship leader and I have PTSD. So I feel like at least slightly justified in my
oh yeah, that
opinion of
that
that.
that makes
I got
sense.
receipts. I can back it up.
Uh, um, I really love the melody when he sings, and when you say you love me, I don't have to guess. Um, my commentary is I don't have a lot of commentary on this one, just beautiful.
Mm.
So,
One
all
of the
right,
thoughts I did have that I didn't mention is like this sort of feels like perhaps a modern Rich Mullins song,
Mm.
I could see that.
right?
Yeah,
Which is I think a pretty high compliment that I can give for
definitely.
a type of song that I don't like.
Yeah.
Right? Like Like I normally don't like these songs, and I like it, and it reminds me of one of my favorite people that does those that did
Yeah.
those
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
songs. So
Yeah, that's about the highest praise you can give to compare somebody in this genre to Rich Mullins, at least.
yeah,
True.
Um, let's go to track 9, Strange Roads. The song features Chase Tremaine, Matthew Stephen, and Abigail Ree. AJ, what do you think of this one?
I have another more upbeat song! Exclamation
Hmm.
mark on my notes. So yeah, again, like this is kind of needed. I think that you can have these really beautiful, really calming, really atmospheric, introspective songs, but you got to help people like Kylan and I out. Like you do too many
Yeah,
of those, and
yeah,
you're like, I
yeah.
want to like this,
Yeah,
and
yeah. It can't be all mid-tempo.
yeah,
Like,
so you got to bring this stuff in. And so I think again, he times it really well. I think this album in many ways is really well structured in that regard. I really love the lyrics of this one, and I like the whole like idea of being perhaps most comfortable when things are weird. I kind of can relate to that. When things are like standard and normal and stuff like that, you're like feel a little like crawling out of my skin.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I very much like that sort of comparison, and I love the lyrics. If the spirit was sensation, I'd be damned in this, but deeper magic dwells in me as my emotions miss. Cause passion can't be authentic, can't can't authenticate what nonetheless persists. I obviously butchered that, but you get the sentiment. It's very pretty words. And I have this as a 2.75 out of 3.
All
Nice.
right, Kylan.
Um, this song's got electric guitar, and that's rad.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
his okay. It took me a while to figure it out because his voice to me reminds me of like a couple different people throughout this record. Definitely like from Indian Lakes. There's a little bit of Copeland, like Aaron Marsh in there. A little bit of Manchester Orchestra. Sometimes when he gets that sort of like this word sounds bad, but it's not. But the kind of like whiny kind of thing, like it's almost a little nasally, but it's like really emotive. Reminds me of Manchester Orchestra. This song though reminds me of. It feels like acoustic folk Owl City.
Hmm, that makes sense.
And I think it's that way of like where he like hits those notes kind of perfectly, and the melodies are like really simple.
Mhm.
It reminds me a lot of Adam Young. Uh-oh, lost AJ. He didn't like that.
He was frozen.
I think he was mad about my Owl City comment. um, yeah, it's got the four on the floor kick. Um, it uh, like AJ was saying, it comes at a really great time in the record. uh, Bringing it up a little bit. The energy's great. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely song. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Um, yeah, my biggest note on this one is about the electric guitar. I'm pretty sure that's
Mm.
Chase Tremaine playing that because I listened to quite a bit of his music as well,
Yeah.
and it sounds like his playing to me. And
Hmm.
I just kind of love it. Kind of, I don't know if you know the band Forever Changed,
Uh-uh.
but it reminds me of kind of their guitar playing style, which I've always loved. That's so I think that adds a real cool element to the song, and
Yeah.
this is a 4.5 star, 9.3 for me.
Nice.
We both gave it 4.5 stars.
Nice.
That's a Twyla
That's
Paris.
Twyla Paris. Yeah, there you go. I was racking my brain. I was trying to think. That's perfect. Should we wait and see if AJ hops back
Yeah.
on for the next one?
Yeah.
Cool. Oh man, I'm so mad. Everyone's at that Best Friends Forever Fest in Vegas, the emo festival.
Yeah.
Dude, how is Furnace Fest?
It was amazing.
When is your Black Sheep episode coming out?
I think it's on Tuesday.
Okay,
There
sweet.
were I think like 6 or 7 of us on there with Mason and Colin.
Nice.
So that was nice. Just get a lot of different people's opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. The highlight really for me was meeting people who I've known for a long time and never
Right,
met, or the people that I only see at Furnace Fest every year.
right.
So yeah, this year was, I knew going in would probably be more about that
Yeah,
for
for
me,
sure.
just because of it being the last one and
I
the first
know.
one
I'm
that some of
so
my friends could go to.
I'm so bummed church teams now couldn't go. We had talked about it
Yeah,
early on. Um, we just couldn't make it work, and of course it's the last one. So,
yeah. Hopefully something will take its place.
Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. My Zoom like crashed
Huh.
and
oh,
then came back on eventually.
I thought you were mad about me comparing Benjamin Daniel to Al City.
No, I didn't even. The last thing I heard was Copeland, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
it
yeah.
froze, and then it like took me out, like it was loading,
Oh, weird.
and then completely went away, and then reopened. So I
Weird.
apologize. I don't know
No,
what
you're
happened
fine, man.
there.
You're fine.
No worries. All right, we were just about to go to, let's go to track 10, Hartsfield.
Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of light.
Kylan, what do you think about this one?
Do we happen to know who's speaking?
um,
Or is that a question
I have
for when
looked
we...
before. Let me see if it says on here. I've got his Bandcamp pulled
Okay,
up.
I looked on the Bandcamp and I
Didn't
didn't
see anything.
know.
Mm, yeah, I don't see. I don't, I'm not sure who
All
that
right.
is
Yeah, well, I'll
actually.
just have to ask him when he
Y-
comes on the show.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is really beautiful. It's very cool. Um, but I had to because this is such a long album, and this is a really long interlude. Um, I had to give it 2.5 out of 5. Um, it I liked it. It just felt a little too long for me.
All right, AJ.
Yeah, like Kylan said, it's pretty. Even the message, from the sermon in the background is wonderful. But on a long album, this kind of felt like, well, why?
Mhm.
Um, but it's still really pretty, and so it's a 2 out of 3. So not bad for him to get a 2 out of 3 when there are people that have like proper songs that I'm like, I don't know, 1. So like he was just like, I don't know, I just played like cozy guitar over a sermon I
Right,
recorded and managed to get a 2 out of 3. So
right.
Yeah, I give it a 4 star, 8.2. That's like on its, considering for what it is. I do think that I would be fine with it not being on the album because, like you
For
all
sure.
said, it's a longer album. I do think it's good, but in with the goal, I guess, of this, the more perfect the album, I guess, the better, and it feels like it takes away from the perfectness of the album by
Yeah,
having a long interlude on an already long album. Personally, but it's nice. It doesn't bother me. I don't skip it when it comes on or anything.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, 4 star, 8.2. Let's go to New Hall song track 11. AJ, what do you think about this one?
I love this song. I don't think that's much of a surprise though.
Nah, that makes sense.
It's beautiful to hear Benjamin reflect about his love for a woman that maybe he's afraid to love, right? Like I think it's really pretty. It's got this like really interesting duality, and then it's sort of got this hip hop quality to it, but it
Hmm.
also sort of has a brand new quality to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So it's like this
Yeah.
really interesting, combination there. And again, I love the lines, right? Like, woman, if I was scared, it wasn't you. I've always known I'd have to kill the lesser dream before I bring you home. True love dies daily to the fear that turns our hearts to stone. Like, damn, man.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's heavy and this is pretty and it's beautiful love song, I
yeah.
think.
Mhm.
And what's neat about that is it's not like this neat packaged thing of like, oh yeah, everything is awesome and wonderful and great and like I'm in love, yay! Like the Buddy the Elf
Right.
like scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows, that stuff that can be like complicated and like heavy and mess with you. And that's what I think makes me like love it more. But it's a 3 out of 3 for me.
Nice.
This it's either this or the other three star. That's my favorite 2 tracks on this album, and I still don't know which one it is. So
Okay. But cool.
Valid.
Kylan?
Yeah, I love this song too. I love that the filtered weird snare drum
hmm
that is present throughout. He does a really cool, interesting vocal run in about 30 seconds that he does nothing else like it anywhere else on the album. Right here. That
Mm-hmm.
intertwine.
Is
He's never
neat.
everything else he does like it's like, we hit the note, it's like pretty like forceful on those melodies. And here like it gets a little wobbly in the coolest way. Um
He's feeling a little wobbly
yeah,
off of
no,
the
and it
lyrics.
works, yeah, it works for the like
Mhm.
for the context of the song. Yeah, this is a great song. And this is another 4 out of 5.
I think the part maybe AJ where you were talking about that maybe almost sounds like a hip hop is where like he sings the lyrics like kind of fast. Where it's
Uh-huh.
I know taking up your cross ain't fashionable anymore, but I still do like that part. Is
hmm
that kind of what you're alluding to or
That and
talking
just kind
about?
of like the
Yeah.
beat in the background, I think works really well too. But even just like
Yeah.
the yeah. So yeah.
I feel like that kind of like singing a little bit quick
Mm-hmm.
on slow songs is kind of becoming like a trademark thing for him
Uh,
because he does it on this song, he does it on Better Country, he does it on a couple songs on his new album, and
yeah,
I really I love it when he does that. It kind of catches me. It feels unusual for a song like this, and
right.
kind of catches me off guard. Um, so I really love that. I called it speed singing. I don't know
Yeah, there
what
you
you
go.
actually
There you
call
go.
that.
Yeah. Speed
Um,
singing works.
so AJ, what do you think this song is about specifically? Like a
So
woman that um
that
go ahead,
like
you tell me.
yeah, well, I mean, of course, you're reading lyrics and like you don't
Yeah.
necessarily know, especially because he uses like some poetry and stuff like that. But like somebody that he loves, but is like afraid to love, or afraid of being good enough to love that
Yeah.
person, and also what that like might mean if he
Mm-hmm.
does love that person and having to like give up on some other things to make space for that person.
Mm. Okay.
Of
Yeah.
course, it could be a metaphor for something else, but I try to take sometimes things at face value. So when it
Yeah,
says
that's
like woman, if I was scared, okay, I
yeah.
think this is about a woman then.
Yeah, clearly.
Right. But yeah, this idea of you've got to make yourself like better, or thinking that you have to make yourself better for somebody that you really love, and that makes you
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was having trouble kind of piecing together like what I really thought the song was about, aside from being about um a woman, obviously, that he was maybe they were beginning to develop a romantic relationship. Says if California calls our names, then I could call you mine. And
Hey,
he
I say,
moved
where
out
does
to
he live now?
California.
Where does he
Yeah.
live now?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I'm gonna guess California.
yeah. So I'm going to also guess that means that she isn't his. So
Mm.
did
I don't know.
he choose California over her? Um,
Mm.
See,
These are
he's
good
gonna listen to this
I
and
questions.
be
don't
like,
know.
I don't know, it's about my love of cookies. How was like that not
Yeah.
clear?
Probably. uh, but this is a 9.95 star for me. It's in my top 100
Wow.
favorite songs.
So we
Sweet.
got another 2 out of 3, just the combination's different here. So we got
We got
another Sandy
we
Patty.
got a Sandy Patty.
Sandy Patty.
I think when you were out, AJ,
Oh
when two
yeah.
of us give the same score, that's called a Twilight Paris.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, me and Kylan gave
Yep.
the song the same score.
Gotcha.
Called it that. All right, track 12, 73 in silence. Alan, what do you think about this one?
Um, I love this song too. The guitar is like even a little bit different.
Yeah,
Not
super
even that John
cool.
Foreman thing. It's almost like a Jack Johnson-y kind of thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
with the
yeah.
hammer-ons and pull-offs.
Mm-hmm.
He does the double track vocals again.
Mm-hmm.
This is his second reference to Castaic on the record,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
noticed. I don't know what I don't have any interesting insight into that except
Me neither.
I just noticed it. Um,
Is this where you now
but
tell us this is the concept album and you just now go into the explanation of it?
maybe that's a real TJ move. He probably has it all mapped out. This is another 4 out of 5 for me.
Okay. AJ?
I really like the guitar riff that's like throughout this. It's different, right? Like,
Mm-mm.
um, so I really dig that. I really love hearing someone in this genre like wrestle with doubt in their faith. Right, like that's I think that's one of my biggest complaints about like modern CCM, especially mainstream, is it's all good. Oh, it's all good, it's all
Right.
easy, it's all simple.
Mhm.
And
How are
like
you? I'm blessed.
exactly,
Like,
yeah. Like yeah. And so, that gets tiresome because it's not real.
mhm,
And like because that's normal, right? And it helps make faith stronger.
mhm,
Because if you can doubt and you can wrestle with things and still come back to it and say,
Mhm.
I still think that's where it's at. And even if it makes it, even if I'm not for sure, I'm still making a choice. So
Right.
yep.
that's a little bit more, I think, real for me.
Mhm,
Yeah.
And so I think that Ben, deals with this idea beautifully in this song, both lyrically and musically, and then vocally, of course. And so this is another 2.75 out of 3 for me.
Cool.
Um, just once again, a gorgeous melancholy melody, um, gorgeous lyrics. Why do I feel so alone? Is there still such a thing as home? Why do I feel so unknown? Like AJ said, lot singing about doubts and things. I can't seem to grasp like the if there isn't like actual theme to the song. I aside from just being vaguely about doubts and things, which is fine. But
mhm.
um, I don't know what 73 in silence means either.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe this is just a topic that I am unaware of, or maybe something very personal.
Right.
But with it being so sung so beautifully and so well written, I still feel it. So hashtag vibe guy. This is a 5 star 9.8 for me.
Nice. I wonder if 73 and Silent, I wonder, so my take on it, and I have, obviously we have no idea, but my take on it is 73 is like the name of is like a highway because he talks about driving a lot in this song. And
Yes.
so it's
Yeah.
like driving this stretch of road like in
Mm.
silence.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is
That's
recorded in Georgia. Like, is there this a 73 in Georgia? We can
Right.
find that out, can't we?
Yeah.
yeah.
Get
It's a
one of
good
those
thought.
like geo tracker guys on it. He's like Castaic, Lake Hughes. Oh yeah, there's a farm to market road 73 and
I think it was
Georgia State Route 73. Again, he's gonna come on and be like, "No, it's like that was my football number, man." And like I was looking at my
yeah.
jersey, like,
I think David Martin, who's been on our show before, I
Mhm.
I introduced him to this album, and he lives in California. I feel like he really appreciated that he, I think, was familiar with all these places
Oh
that
yeah.
Benjamin was talking about. I
Nice.
think I think that's the case. Um, Track 13, Jesus in the Valley. AJ, what do you think about this one?
so. And I mean this is a compliment. This song sounds like you stumbled on like the home recording of something like not meant to be heard, and like that's I
Mhm.
genuinely mean that as like a compliment. It has like this kind of cool like almost B-side hidden track. The vault got cracked open and
Yeah.
you didn't know that he recorded it. I kind of compare in my notes like the emotional feel and like sound of like Asleep by the Smiths,
Mm.
Mm.
Hmm.
which is one of my favorite songs from them. And so yeah, this feels like uh, and again, not a bad thing, like underproduced and
Yeah.
more raw. Like, and maybe I have no idea. I think maybe the Bandcamp has this information, but like that this was like him recording on like his laptop or something at
Right.
home.
Didn't he
So
do
it feels very different.
one of his albums was recorded all on the iPhone, right? I think I read that somewhere.
I think yeah, I think the one after this, Home Enough for Now, I feel like was a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, this does feel that it's got that like demo feel. Like you hear all the room noise and
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
uh
neat. Like
yeah.
you obviously don't necessarily want that for everything, but again, at this point, you're looking almost like
True.
or listening for like things that are different to break up.
Mhm.
Like, okay, this is a 15 track album. You're passing the 45-minute mark. And so
Right.
like this is different and feels raw and feels personal.
Uh,
Not something meant to be on like a widely released album. But I have
yeah.
this as a 2.5 out of 3.
Yeah. Kylan?
Yeah, no, I think this is a great song and everything AJ was saying, like I like that it does it adds a new interesting sonic element. Because a lot of these songs, are like kind of mid-tempo. There's like a lot of space. There's, uh, there's a lot of things that these songs have in common, but he
I like a
does
little
like
guitar right there.
enough like interesting things
Hmm.
throughout to keep you interested. Yeah, I thought this was great. This is a 4.5, 4.5 out
Okay.
of 5.
Um, it kind of throws me off a little bit.
Hmm.
Like I get what you all are saying, and I appreciate that it's at this point in the album you probably need something like this. When I'm trying to think of like this, and part of what I try to think about this album is there is a pretty much perfect album within it. It
Oh yes,
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't, it doesn't, it's not a perfect album as released, I don't think. So part of my thinking is what would have made it for me a perfect album, and I think this is one that I would have left off,
mm,
put it as a B side or something, just
right.
because the home recording sound kind of it's not really my thing. Like I get
Mhm.
it, and I like it, but for an album that's this just beautiful and atmospheric, I feel like it doesn't do as much for me as the songs that I think are just absolutely incredible do. I still give it a 4 star, 8.1. It's still a beautiful song. Just a lot of this that I try and think about is how it could have been. And this is just my
Right, for you personally.
in according to my taste, what would have made it perfect.
Yeah.
It it almost feels wrong. Like if there's enough music within an album to be like if you took the best 10 tracks, if they were all 4.5 stars or 5 stars, and would
Hmm.
be it almost feels wrong to penalize an album for having extra things.
Extra,
It's
right,
almost
right.
like
Yeah, yeah.
you still get
You
those
still get
things.
those like 10 songs that you love,
Yeah,
and there's
right.
yeah.
And you get a few bonuses that in this case I still like. But do you all have any thoughts on kind of how you would approach that in like in any kind of like system of
Hmm.
ranking favorites or anything?
I don't know. The Queen is Dead is my favorite album, and it's got Vicar and a Tutu on it, and that song could go. So I think
Yeah.
it's those statements can be true that like my favorite album has a track that is one of my least favorite songs
Yeah.
ever from that band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how I would like approach it because I have similar albums like that. Like my version of that is Narrow Stairs by Death Cab. I think is a 10 out of 10 album except for Talking Bird. AJ, you're just wrong. You're just wrong about that. like you're just fully wrong. It is an incredible album from start to finish, with the exception of Talking Bird. Uh, but it's still one of my favorite albums, even with that song. I just skip it. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't think there's necessarily like an answer, but this is a really interesting question to
Well,
like
and
think
like
about.
one thing I think about is like this isn't Sandinista. Like he didn't drop
True.
like a 4 disc album. Because that's a whole conversation I'm planning. I don't know when this is gonna be released, but I think around the anniversary of Sandinista, I'm going to have a conversation about that with our good friend Caleb the Spy. About how could you
Nice.
take all those tracks off of Sandinista and figure out how to make like a good 10 to 12 track album.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, because at that point it does. At that point, I get annoyed with Strummer
Right.
and Jones. Like, all right,
Yeah, yeah. It's
guys,
like, yeah, we got it. We got
you
it.
didn't need to do that. Now I'm a little angry with you.
Uh-huh.
With this, it's like, yeah, it's enough. That it's not. I wouldn't start penalizing yet.
Yeah.
Right. Versus Sandinista. Sandinista does get docked from me for being self-indulgent.
Mhm. Okay.
And it's from one of my favorite bands.
Right.
Okay.
So
That
if
makes
he had
sense.
done that, if he'd been like, you know what, we're releasing three disc album
But
and they're all an
that's like
hour.
what all like modern pop artists are doing now. They're releasing like 26 track albums, and you're like,
Yeah.
you don't need half of
That's all
this.
for streaming.
No, I
That's
know. I know.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
you're right. I agree.
There's fairly popular examples of that. And especially when it gets funny where you're like, yeah, the second album, that's the good one. Like the
Right.
one that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
release, like the one that's like this aftermath,
Yeah.
ends up being the one that's actually like I think much better
Mm.
for me often. But yeah, I do get annoyed by that. Like uh, an hour long album. All right, it's not. I'm not gonna start docking points off of it for having
I
something
am.
strange or weird.
Benjamin Daniel, we're calling you out.
Well, it's not like
Let's
that. It's not like these tracks are DC Talk skits,
right,
right?
right, right.
Like
Exactly.
they're not.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're really good songs and stuff like that. It's just, it's an hour and 6 minutes. So I think that'd be my answer of like there's a threshold before I start being like,
For
all
sure.
right, you're being self-indulgent and now you're actually making me mad as a fan.
For sure. For me, it's an hour and 7 minutes. You just barely squeaked by, Benjamin. We dare you to come on this show and defend yourself.
Plus, for me, I like the fact that some of the songs that I think kind of hurt it are ones that are amongst your all's favorites. So
Interesting.
the problem is clearly with me, not with the album,
It's just personal
because
taste, yeah.
See,
yeah,
I wish everybody had that take, right, Kylan? Like if they disagreed with you and I, we're not the problem.
No, I'm never the problem.
Yeah, exactly. They're the problem.
Everyone else is the problem.
I'm gonna like play this later on for people in like conversations. Like if we're agreeing on something and they disagree, be like, look, just recognize like Eric Mack did that you're being the problem right
Yep,
now.
you're the problem.
Not
don't
Kylan and
these
I.
don't these artists know that the goal for their album should be for me to think it's
Exactly.
perfect?
Yeah.
The
No one
audacity.
else.
Screw
You
Especially
know?
artistic
because he knows
integrity
you.
or
He
like a
knows you, and so he should have made the whole album for you,
Guys,
Eric.
this is
Yeah.
getting dangerously close to that. Have you guys seen that Variety article about how movie studios are going to start having
Mm,
like
the focus groups.
super fan focus groups?
Yeah, okay.
We're getting dangerously
Man,
close.
I
But
mean, come on.
we're gonna release Shelterheart and Everglow edition. Just the way that I would have released it.
Perfect.
No, I'm just kidding.
You can do that. I'll release my version, and then AJ can release his version. My version's
There we
going to be
go.
like 6 songs.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that with Sandinista. Once Caleb and I
Perfect.
have that conversation, I'm gonna make a Spotify playlist basically with like the 10 to 12 tracks and be like, this is good Sandinista. Oh,
There you go.
um. Okay. So yeah, for me, Jesus in the Valley was a 4-star, 8.1.
Nice.
Track 14, the title track, Shelterheart, features Ron Black. AJ, what do you think about this one?
Why do I keep getting drawn to go first every time
I'm
now?
trying to switch it, but I can't remember who went first the time before. I'm
I mean,
sorry.
it's fine. After the calmness of the prior song, I like this more upbeat one.
Hmm.
I like that. Like, is it picking? Are they picking on the guitar there? And like these twangy
And
country
banjo.
guitars?
There's
Yeah, and
there's
yeah,
Banjo.
banjo.
there's
There's a
banjo on
lot
there.
of
Yeah,
banjo, but it's
this is
both of
very
them combined.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes. And so it's got this like twangy, almost country
it's like
vibe
real
to it.
bluegrass. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I love the theme, right? The idea that like loving people will naturally mean more sadness, or like the idea that like having meaningful relationships will mean that you have to be vulnerable, and that's scary,
Hmm.
right? Like the lyric, the less you're alone, the more funerals you go to,
Mhm.
is like by choosing to be friends with people, to love people, yeah, you're gonna have to attend more funerals and more sad
Yeah.
stuff, and their problems become your problems. Or the more they learn your name, the more naked they will find you. The less you face that shame, the more guilt begins to bind you. Like, man, this is good stuff.
It really is.
I also want to like just sit him down, and be like, yeah, hey, buddy, do you need a hug? Um, so yeah, this is a 2.75 out of 3 for me.
Kylan.
Yeah, I love this song too. This is a 4.5 out of 5. I love the energy of it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it feels real bluegrassy. Uh, it kind of
So we got
makes
an album
sense.
that's got hip hop, that's got brand new, it's got bluegrass,
Yeah.
it's sounds sort of apparently like Owl City, though I apparently missed that conversation. Man, he's a what's a
Yeah,
cinnamon complicated cinnamon roll of a musician.
for sure. Yeah, no, this makes sense why it's the title track. I love that it's so far down in the track list. It feels like it ties everything together.
Hmm.
Um, I, if I'm being honest, I kind of wish it was the last track, but we'll get into that on the next one. 4.5 out of 5.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I like that it's upbeat, but also kind of has a bit of a like a melancholy vibe. I think. It feels like a good driving song, like
Hmm.
um, on the interstate, sun going down. Um, I also had the lyric that you mentioned, AJ. The less that you're alone, the more funerals you go to. It's
Yeah, that's deep, man.
a sad but true statement. And the banjo solo at 135
Yeah,
So good.
yeah.
was very enjoyable. Um, it's a 4.5 star, 9.4 for me. Um, let's go to the final track, Better Country. Kylan, tell us why this should be the final song or whatever you think.
Well, it's very long. It's very long. Once again, personal preference. I don't love this song. I like how it starts. Um, I just personally feel like his vocal performance isn't as strong as it on this song as it is on the rest of the record. I don't know if it's the vocal mix, like the way it's mixed in. It feels really forward in the mix, in a way that everything else felt really kind of open. And then it does this thing, this like the piano does this like descending thing, and his vocal does that as well.
Mm.
Where is that? Like, yeah, something about this melody just it that da 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 da. Da. I just personally don't like it a lot, so I give this a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
I love that part, Kylan.
So do I.
Love it. Um, go ahead, AJ.
So I think that this is a really beautiful song, and in particular, it makes me think of you got your arm covered, Kylan. It makes me think of transatlanticism in particular, like
Hmm,
that final, that track, and the way it's drawn out, right? Or even like early Love Drug, right? Where Love Drug randomly is like, here's these like 7 minute long piano songs that
right.
are sort of like devastating and beautiful and epic, right? and it reminds me to a point that we've made of like well done modern worship music at times for me.
Yeah.
And I'm normally right there with you. If a song is over 4 minutes, I'm like, what are you doing? Please put me out of my misery here. But this to me does not feel like a 7 minute tune.
Hmm.
Which is meant as a compliment. Like I think it
Yeah.
does enough interesting things that it moves along for me. And so I have this as a 2.75 out of 3.
Okay.
So
Very nice.
So
This
what
is
do we call this when there's like a huge discrepancy? Is it a John Cooper? What is
that's called a Kylan's wrong.
No, I know I'm wrong. I get it.
I'm
It's a
kidding.
beautiful song.
I'm
I
totally
just
kidding.
it's Susan Ashton.
Perfect.
This is my favorite song on the album. Uh,
Hey.
5 star, 9.9. It's in my top 50 favorite songs of all time.
I genuinely came close to making this a 3 out of 3, and I was like, I just can't. I'm sorry. It's 7 minutes.
Why'd y'all
I
make
want
me
to,
go
but I can't.
first?
'Cause I've gone first for like 5 songs in a row. So
Uh,
um, yeah, I love the part that Kylan doesn't like.
Mhm.
da, da,
No,
da,
that's
da,
so
da, da,
yeah,
da.
that's so cool. Like I think that's
Yeah,
really well done.
and
And
the
it's
way
Yeah,
again a
no,
different thing.
it
He's using
keeps
his vocals
building.
differently. Yeah.
it's very musical theater, which
Yeah.
I typically really enjoy. I think for me though, it really does come down to the length of the album. I think I was ready to be done after Shelterheart.
Well, I'm
Okay.
curious, did you listen to the album only because we've talked about this before? Like I will listen to the album in order and then finally like on the last version I will hit shuffle. And
Oh,
so if
Oh,
you had
interesting.
heard this like in a
I think if
different
I'd heard it in
order,
a different place, I think I would like it more. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I only listen in order.
Okay. Yeah, no,
that,
I listened to this albums all in order until either the last time or like the second to last. I usually only go back one more time if I'm really like torn and being like, I don't know which one of these like four is my favorite or whatever.
Uh,
But there's usually a version of it that I just hit shuffle
I
on
really like that.
to see because I do think about this. There's other albums that we've done where you're like track 11, if this was like track 2, yeah, but it came after this and so it helps me like identify those a bit better of
I
like
get
it
that.
feel different.
That's just
Yeah.
so hard for me to do. I think because I think of albums like within the context of the album, right? Like even if
Hmm.
they are what I feel like they're sequenced horribly, it's like, well, I mean, this is how they like intended it to come out. I don't know. It's almost like I I wouldn't skip around just to see my favorite scenes in a movie, but it makes sense. Like it makes sense, like doing that. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do it.
Well, but like I said, it just allows me to be able to take the tracks a little bit
Yeah, no, it
as
fully makes sense.
on their
Like,
own
yeah,
standing.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been like back when I had my iPod Classic, like 160 gig. I had like my top rated playlist, and I would shuffle it. They would shuffle all the songs I'd given a 4 star or above to, and the songs would often hit different for me coming outside of the context of the album. Like there are a lot of songs that I realize that I love a lot more by not hearing them at some point in the
Right.
context of the album.
Yeah.
That's not saying you should always, listen to it outside of it, but I really like that idea,
Yeah, no,
AJ.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
might
it is a
start
good idea. I'm
start
gonna
doing
try
that
it.
too.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
on
Okay.
long albums. I
Yeah.
think on long albums, there's been some times where like good tracks have just been kind of like, look, it's a good
Right.
track, but we're at the 55th minute
Right.
here.
Yeah, yeah. Which is kind of how I feel
Yeah.
about this song. That's how I
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
um. Okay. So 5 star, 9.9 for me on Bear Country. What is your final grade for the album, Kylan?
Eric, you know me too well at this point, my friend. This is a solid 4 out of 5. This is a great record.
Yes.
Very much enjoyed it. You made me very excited to dig into the rest of his discography.
Good. Good. I
The
thought you
album
would
he
like.
dropped this year is so good. It really
Yes,
is.
you should definitely check that one out too. Uh, I I feel like it's got something for the vibe guy and for the lyrics guy on almost every song. So that's kind of and I know
For
you
sure.
like, kind of singer songwritery stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it would be in
Yeah,
your
it's good.
wheelhouse.
It's a little long, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a four
Okay.
4 out of 5.
Awesome. AJ?
I've got this as a 2.75 out of 3.
Okay.
So this is
That was close.
between what my epic and falling up.
Yes, it would be between you gave Falling Up a 2.75 and My Epic a 2.5. So you would put this
Yeah.
in between those? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I'll do wonderful respect to Ben there. I think falling up gets gets a little bit of a nod for me.
Awesome. And Kylan, so for you, 4 stars puts this.
I'm so curious. I have no idea.
Did you give All Star United 4 stars? I didn't put it. I have it in order, but I didn't have
I
what
probably
you actually
did.
I
gave
think
it.
so. I think that's
I
right. Yeah.
probably did.
Okay. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, 4 stars. So
Okay.
you've got All Star United with 4 stars and Keith Sweat at 4 stars.
All right. So if I had to like go by degrees, I think Keith Sweat still,
Okay.
then Benjamin Daniel, then All Star United.
Okay. Then Benjamin.
What is All the Day Holiday still that's my
Holiday, Holiday, and Falling Up are both 4.5s for you.
Nice.
Those are your
that
high
tracks.
scores.
Yeah,
Yep.
I stand by that.
All right. And for me, this is a 5-star album based a large part based on the fact that there is a 5-star for sure album within it. So this is
Within it, right.
this is Sing It as a 5-star album with a few bonuses is how
I like that.
kind of I see it. So 5-star for
Man,
me.
this is like when Kesha dropped Animal with a Cannibal together for
Yeah, exactly.
for Eric. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love this album. I have a tattoo of
Yeah.
it on my body of a little thing, kind of like cover art.
It's cool.
Benjamin, if you're watching, I love you. All my criticisms were just because I am literally picking apart every album I love.
We dare you to come on the show and defend it.
He just wants to disagree with Kylan and I, all right? Notice the songs that he was critical on
Uh-huh.
were times that Kylan and I were a unified front.
Yep.
So,
What's funny is he's gonna be on the show before this comes out, or he's gonna do his interview, so he's not gonna hear any of this till after we talk to him.
right.
I had one thought on this album, like of what this sort of sounded like for me, and I text about it sounding like Sufjan Stevens, but also
Yeah.
like if Sufjan Stevens and like Pedro the Lion made an album together,
Mhm.
That
is
tracks.
Yeah.
where that
I
sort
like
of
that.
landed
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I can hear that for sure.
Which now I want to hear that super band. Like, can we?
For sure.
I don't know, Kylan, you probably know them, right? Like, you open for them, and make that happen.
Never. Those are two that have not crossed my path, unfortunately.
All right. I want to thank all the people who support the show on Patreon. Special shout out to Tim Rogers, who is a WoW
Tim.
tier patron. If you would like to also support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/everglow.